I have a good one today for Sunday Funday. Several people ask me, what's my process when I'm building any applications? And I think we're at the point where, building applications will become kind of ubiquitous, super easy to do. And the idea of architecting the application, understanding what are the pitfalls of certain architectures and, making more architecture streamlined and even be able to be more of a project manager over these essentially junior coders is what I call them, will be the future, at least for now, and until they completely take over. So today, very interesting problem that I'm looking to solve. We're going to start it over from scratch so you can see where we're going with this. But I have a URDF converter that I've been using for the past 2.5 years. Basically, it looks at the step file in its raw form and builds this kind of URDF converter off of it. Well, I wanted to modernize it. Among that, I'm doing a bunch of other things. Like you might have seen that I started my own company, 10 Things, and it's been going for about almost a year now. And I've been employed by 10 Things for exactly 1 week. Before that, it was other people. And, I would guide them, create code on my own time, free time. But I left Amazon with the intention of going 100% into coding every day. I consider, and other people consider me as a 100x engineer with AI. So I wanted to put that to the test and say everything that I build from now on is going to serve a purpose in my life. And if it helps developers, even better. And this is one of those things. I've created these various hubs, and what they do is they help you with your CAD models, bringing in. We're not going to talk about that today because this is Sunday Funday, so we're going to just stay away from that. But today, I'm working with another developer. His name is Anton, and we're working on the what do they call that? The Cosmos Cook-Off. And it's due March 5th. So we're going to work on this through March 5th. And Anton, kind of gave him the starting point. And Anton has actually been doing most of the coding on this project. So it's kind of weird for me to sit back and watch some code kind of come in. So, and so I just kind of look, direct when necessary. Anton's quite bright, so he's doing a lot of the work on his own. And then we kind of sync and talk about what should be next, etc. But to that end, I'd already built something. As you can see, there's a little reason right there because it uses Cosmos Reason. But the idea is to use Cosmos Reason to figure out how these joints were behaving and things like that. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Is this application that I've built out? It's called Forge, and the point of this application is to help me build different things. Like I want to be able to build essentially one robot a week, a small robot, not something big, in my spare time. So what does that mean? It means I have to be able to order parts. When the parts come in, I have to be able to collect them. When the parts are all the way in, I got to be able to do something like, hey, you have all the parts for this project. Take it out of the container that it's in and start building. The only thing I'm missing is really to automate this project is automating that PCB delivery creation part of this, which I'm also starting to work on. This actually doesn't work yet. I leave them in black when it's not working. And so you'll see parts of this, like the CAD query here is still in black. There is a dark mode for all this, but I specifically use this black color to indicate that this is still something that's still under development. And when I used to work in a company and I was in my zone, I would put up a sign when I was in a cubicle and I'd say, I'm going dark, I'm in Jedi mode, I'm going black, etc. Taking the black, I guess, if you're if you're into Game of Thrones. And so that was the idea, is that you wanted to show that, yeah, I am not available at the moment. And so what I want to do is have something that gets me into the space that I need to be at that moment in time to do the work that I need to do. one of these days I'm going to learn how to turn off my watch to do not disturb, because I think every one of these videos has a bing in it. Okay, so I'm gonna work on that. But anyway, so this is something called Forge. I've been working on this for quite a while. It's had pieces of it. If you've seen my other videos, like USD View extensions, Isaac Sim extensions, all that kind of stuff in there, and so I separated it out from my big 10 things project because it doesn't quite fit. Like, all of these things are really cool, but they're all about building the control code and building out the actual deployment of the robot. They really focus on the robot's inner working infrastructure, the CAD models, and those kinds of things. So I've been lucky. I'm working with another talented designer, Merdad, as well, and he's working with some open source stuff to kind of help some kids out in their journey in robotics. So I said, what a better way to support him than to help him with some control code, URDF files, and those kinds of things. So you'll start to see that in the coming days when he adds me to his GitHub repo. I think that's coming soon, if it hasn't already happened. I should have gotten an alert. I didn't really see one. So anyway, so we have this joint suggester, and I actually, the focus of today is to actually talk about my process and not necessarily the code behind this, because now I think anybody can generate this code. So my process, and I'm gonna bring you into my process by taking you to from square one. I incubate my ideas with Claude Code or OpenAI, something with some kind of visual, because I like to have the visual, and so I incubate the idea. Why isn't that one working? Well, shoot, I broke it. Let's see if this one's, there we go. That one's still working. Cool. I incubate the idea with screen mockups first. If it's not a product, what are you doing it for? Does it have a cool back end? Great, yeah. And I create the back end later. I tend to look at, okay, what do I want this to do? Okay, how versatile should this be? And then I work my way back to what the back end should be like. What tools should I use in the back end? How it should function, etc. So this particular case, I'm creating a product that I started with very simply. I wanted to just look at all the wearable devices that have like a way of looking out at the camera. I wear glasses, but I also wear contacts, and I have plenty. If you guys know, I'm a spatial computing nerd. Been for many years. I have robots that use all kinds of different, from the HoloLens to the Vision Pro, the Magic Leap, and Lucid Blades. Like you name it. I have robots that use this stuff. I control my robots with these. Have you seen some of my previous videos? So now, this time, what I wanted to do is take all of those glasses, and I'm going to run essentially something similar to Claude Code on those glasses with my own backend, fully locked down so no one else can get to it besides those glasses and me, and you still have to log into the glasses and all of those things. So I'm trying to keep it really, really tightly integrated, locked in, and I want to give it some access to my coding environment. Like, I want to be able to put the glasses on, and now that you can go like Claude Code from your phone and just hit start and whatever, I want to be able to do that for my glasses. I want to be able to look at the code that's being written somewhere completely different up in my lab, and I want to be able to put my glasses on and approve different things, work with different things, etc. I want to be able to do that without ever stepping into my office. For me, going into my office should now be about building robots. So one of the first things is I wanted to understand what devices I have. Clicked on it twice. What devices I have, and then essentially just go through the devices and see what the core differences of those devices are. What's the common core? What are some that are more fantastic than others? Incubate the idea, which device should I use first? I have all these different devices, etc. and it kind of goes over all these different parts, like it helped me kind of think through all this. I'm using 90% of my session. That's okay. I usually do like one of these a month, and I have like 35 of these backed up. So there's there's gonna be like this, and I'll just kind of keep going with this so we can wrap this video up, because it's really just going to be about my process. So then from there, I'm using this to project plan. I want to see results and screens and things like that. And then as I get closer, I start with some UI mockups like you saw just a minute ago. And then what should happen, let's see if that actually shows up. Yeah. Oh, nope. Oh, no. All right. Well, that should show up, where my first skill that I want to have for this particular project is this ability to search, put inventory where it belongs. You might notice behind me, maybe you can't see, but I have boxes and boxes of robot parts all over the floor for my next robot that I'm building, that I'm going to build using my 10 things code. So stick around for that. I'm probably going to do it on a Sunday, just like I'm doing right now. I'm going to take something out of a box. I'm going to start writing code using my coding hub. Okay, so but the idea is this: you can read here, have a product. I want to be able to create inventory. I'm going to say that that one didn't work. I don't want to refresh it. I'm going to say that last screen. And I don't type anymore, by the way, guys. I didn't work. I don't type anymore because why? And scene, screen, whatever. So the idea is I want to now just sit down and build robots, and for now I want to sit down and solder, and put things together until some of my robots are able to do that for me, and then I can just command them all. But one thing I wanted to talk about while we're in this subject, and maybe let's take a look at that. Kind of, I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but the idea is I want to be able to not replace jobs, but augment jobs. That's a tricky line. I see a lot of people, they're super excited that they made something cool, and that something cool actually probably takes someone else's job, right? I think there's going to become a point, well, yes, we're going to take a lot of jobs and they're not going to be the same as they used to be, but I think a better aspect, until we get the governments kind of work out, what jobs should be replaced with other skill sets that are very close, allowing people to retrain. And even at some point, that's going to whittle down to nothing, where robots are going to be doing most of the manual work. And like Elon Musk says, you'll work if you want to. But this is something that used to take me ages. But let me just and by the way, I create my custom own models. By the way, this is called the Isaac Expert, so it knows everything about Isaac Sim, ROS, product management, all kinds of stuff. And I'm getting it to work with EDA design and some other stuff. So let's just see this, and then I'll talk about how we got here a little bit deeper. And by the way, there's light mode and dark mode. So here's dark mode. That makes your eyes feel better. Let's go in dark mode and say like create scene with 2 wheels connected by a rectangle or like rectangle. Man, I'm bad. You guys you guys are gonna clown me in the Axel. And so this idea was not to replace jobs. It was just to see for myself, could I get more performant? Can I go faster? I employ mechanical engineers, and I certainly don't want them looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, I'm out of a job. No, you're not. What I'm doing is trying to see what we can do with this kind of thing. There we got our wheels. I can fine tune this. Obviously, it didn't put the the center of the wheels, and I wasn't very specific about that. The center of the wheels should be the rotation point for revolute joints, and make the wheels, oh, they can figure that out, wheels blue. Let's see if we can work with that. Anyway, so I mean, the idea is, here it is, it's writing this code. All the code that's written goes back to my reasoning, my model, and becomes part of the knowledge base if it's accepted. So meaning if it's accepted that we try to run it and it runs successfully, then we send it back to the knowledge base. It turned the wheels blue, but it didn't put the maybe I should be more specific. I'll do one last thing. The rectangle ends are the center point for the joint between the wheels. And I, as you might have noticed in all the other pages, I have I have a microphone because I definitely don't write, I don't type anymore, and actually don't write any code anymore. I write stories, and I usually talk those out, and I write the stories in the form of architectures, and then I talk it out, and then but anyway, so the point of all this is that you know, and I'm not going to go through all of this because there's so much to this that I built, and it's still wrong. So it now now it moved it to the center, but not to the center of the circle. The wheel center. How do we say that? From the center diameter meter is where the joint should be. So, and yes, this is quite dumb, but obviously I have much smarter things that I can do. Right now we're using Claude Sonnet instead of my expert. My expert's training right now, and I don't like doing more than one thing at a time on my, you know, I'm using a NVIDIA DGX Spark. It's got unified memory, 128 gigs, which is great. However, let's see if we got it. Nope. So we could play with this all day. I can figure out how to do that. I can actually just create a, I can just say it in natural language. Let's say I want, try it one more time. The wheels to roll in parallel. Let's see if it's that smart. It may not be. Let's see. The rectangle should be perpendicular, I can't spell it anymore, to, it's an E in there, I'm sure. So I'll just have it help me because it's already to the wheels, which should be standing on the ground with the axle suspended. If you can't figure this out, we'll just call this one good. But the idea is right. You can see, you guys can all see, this is how this is built. I have some really cool things that come out of this. Like, for instance, the code in the IZ Expert is able to kind of create its own CAD, URDF, pretty soon electronics and joints. We're getting there. But these are the things that you can do. And I wonder, ooh, Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, we getting close. You guys can see what we're trying to get to. But you can see now, yeah, I have no idea. Maybe because I'm, it made it perpendicular. Let's see, rotate the wheels 180 degrees. How about that? Wheels 90 degrees. Here we go. I'll try one more thing. 90 degrees. And the rectangle and the axle should be joined between them so the wheels can roll like a car? Let's see. All right. This is, quite dumb. But what I can do is connect this to a generative model. It will give better instructions than I can, which is what this is. And then, yeah, this looks like it's much better. Collision, rigid bodies, ground plane. Okay, it did all the stuff. Axles, wheels are rotated 90, so stand up like car wheels. So, okay, let's try that. Apply. Nope. Yeah. Okay. So there's more to this, by the way. This is a part of it. Another thing that this has is the ability to kind of see itself, and then I can go chat with the design and say, oh, by the way, this is not working out like I want it to work out. There's this auto run feature, auto apply, that takes us all through that. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to talk about my process and how, and then so let's wrap it up with the last thing, which is how do I build these things? And so you saw the very beginning, I start out with that kind of spec in Claude Code or Claude generally, because it has a beautiful visualization, no shade to the other ones. I use all of you guys. And then I create that UI spec that you saw. As you can see here, we're floating down the spec. There's some things still to be built. So like all of this stuff, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 through 14 still needs to be built. And sometimes I will just, like I just have something already right here. Like this particular URDF has mirrored legs. What should we do about that? Natural language. I'm not writing code. I'm not telling it, go to this file, go do this thing. Now, I am different than most people. I actually read all these things that it comes out with because I certainly don't want to throw out garbage, especially in my, my working aspects. So, I'm building a platform that roboticists should be trusting. And in order to do that, I have to have trusted the code that I built. And it has to be auditable and, secure and test suites and all of that. So I integrate all of that into this kind of thing. I usually tell it with a webhook, or if it's got the MCP I want to use, or I create my own that says always test. No matter what kind of thing you do, build out a test and have a whole test suite. So in here as a test suite, it runs tests with every commit, before every commit, with every feature. And then it runs back to these specs to look at what it's supposed to do. And if I'm adding something to the functionality, like I will on the fly sometimes, it will now update this. So you can see this is a long list, starting back, now we're down at the, kind of bottom. But these are all, things that, these are things that the functionality should be able to do. And at the end, we're very, very close. We're down to some, I'll call it a bit of minutia. This is kind of all the priorities have been taken care of, and now we're down to, making sure that, there's unified memory and assembly instructions and little things like, I want to be able to say like, all right, I'm building something, maybe something I don't even understand. I want to be able to like look at and the use of the joints left and right. They're not moving. Oh, because there's an issue there. You can see. Perfect. Yep. I want to be able to like move. Let me get rid of all these. I want to be able to move the, it found an error. That's good. So, and actually all these errors are also trapped. So, and they are now part of my application. The application will go review those errors and say to itself, this error happened. What should I do? In some cases, I just generally just copy a little bit of the error and just say like, Drop that in there for later. But this actually will take the error and add it to its list of errors for it to go over on its own. So every time there's an error, it logs it, but also adds it to the backlog, which is some part of my process as well. You can see here's a backlog, and it's kind of future facing, but it also at the very top has or somewhere along in here has my issues list, and it just appends to the issues list like repetitively, and that just kind of goes on and on and on forever. And then this gets too big, I'll compress this down and start a little bit over again. So so when I was talking about that screenshot loop, here's an example. It will go through and start doing something, and then if I say auto, it'll take a screenshot and say, okay, was this right based on what the user asked for, and then move on from there. So anyway, this is quite a long video. I think 30 minutes. No one ever gets to the end of these, so I'm gonna say happy Sunday to all of you guys, the ones that do make it to the end. Maybe I should have like a special thing if you make it to the end of my video, and I'll keep it out of the transcript, and I'll just say like I'm giving away in the video. That way you'll have to actually watch the video, because now Google doesn't let you just go roll through all these videos with Gen AI very easily. So maybe I'll do that. If you like that, put that in the chat and let me know about it. And I have plenty of them lying around, so might be. Okay, have a good one.